Welcome to another edition of the Rhode Island Veterans Information Network. I'm your host, Burke Ranieri. My co-host today is on a special assignment, so look for him on our next session. So today I have a wonderful guest I want you to meet. He's an Army veteran. He's from Narragansett, Rhode Island, and his name is Ed McCormick. And he's just written a book that I believe is in the
it's being edited right now.
It's being edited and will be out very soon. But he's going to talk about it today. And the name of it is "And They All Came Home." And basically, he'll be talking about 5 very special friends and relatives of his who all served in World War II. So Ed did serve in the Army, but he was a fair weather guy and didn't have to go away to combat. So Ed, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for coming up today.
Yes.
And we appreciate it. And first of all, you said that you grew up in Providence.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Whereabouts?
Off Smith Street, right behind LaSalle Academy on Cathedral Avenue. It cut through from Smith Street over to Mount Pleasant Highway, right near Mount Pleasant High School.
Right.
Yeah, so I grew up there.
But you went to LaSalle.
Yes, I did.
Boy, that was a quick walk.
Yeah, I know.
5 minutes,
You know,
not even.
I walked to LaSalle and I walked to PC because PC was up on Eden Street.
That's
So,
good.
yeah.
Good choice.
People say, you walked to high school and college in the same neighborhood. I said, yes, I never had.
It's about almost the same distance.
Yes, it
A
was.
little bit further than PC,
Yes.
but not much.
It was kind of interesting because my father had gone to LaSalle in PC, and he got out of PC in the year 1925, and I got out in 1957, and I had 4 kids go there, 82, 84, 86, and 90, and 2 grandsons. The 2 grandsons came out in 2017 and 2018, Patrick and Stephen. They were the first 4th generation friars, so we're big PC people. Yeah.
I guess. That's
Yes.
unbelievable.
Yes.
Very, very good.
Yes, and I'm the middle of 3 people who went to LaSalle. My father went there, I went there, and one of my 2 sons or grandsons went to LaSalle as well. So,
Unbelievable.
yeah, I know. I've been very lucky to have been
They
directed.
love you. Your name, they should have a one of the walls made up with your name on it, at least. All right. So, you grew up in Providence, and when you were in PC, that's when you were in ROTC?
Yes, in the ROTC, and I got out in '57 and spent 2 years in the Army. We're in the artillery division in a Nike site outside of Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, the surface air weapon systems we had then, you know.
Right. We had Nike sites here in Rhode Island.
I heard that. There was one in Bristol
Couldn't
I
get
visited.
there, right?
Yeah, I know.
Never works like that.
Not
Where
really.
were you?
Outside of Chicago.
Chicago.
In a little town of Lamont, about 30 miles southwest of Chicago. Yeah. Yes, it was quite an experience. It was a good experience because I learned how to listen, I learned how to teach, I learned how to take responsibility, learned to communicate, learned to think. All this came from the Army.
Yeah.
That's why I went in the ROTC. I was only 16 when I went to college. I wasn't ready for college. My brain was, but not nothing else. So I elected to stay in the ROTC to learn about the world before I had to go find a job. You know, so the ROTC meant a lot to me, and it gave me a great opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
To learn.
You know, I still go out to some of the high schools that have junior ROTC.
Yes.
And Cranston is unbelievable.
Really?
They've got hundreds of kids. And the commander of that was a friend of mine who was in the National Guard with me.
Oh.
Well, the last 2. I don't know who's there right now because the last one passed away a few months ago of cancer. So, but we go there to see what's going on.
Yes.
And there's a restaurant that I go to that the mother, she's a waitress. And I went to one of these events at Cranston East, and I saw her there. What are you doing here? She said, "Oh, my daughter." So her daughter is a graduate now,
Oh, for God's sake.
and is going away to college, and she's already got the will and the knowledge to get going and to be an Army person.
Wow.
Imagine.
Wow.
So
That's
now there's a lot of kids. I see a lot of kids around, and I go, Jesus, these kids are.
Yeah, I know.
They look like losers.
I know.
But then I go to something like the ROTC thing, and I see all these kids, and they're all dressed up, and they look sharp. They got haircuts. They salute you.
Yeah.
They're really there's a lot of good kids out there that are.
There are.
Thank God.
I know.
Right.
One of my concerns with the book was that my children and my grandchildren never learned too much about the wars because it wasn't taught in the schools. So it's still, you know.
Yeah.
I've made it. In fact, I'm working on my second book already.
Really?
Up here.
All right.
My second book is going to be about stories that you heard at home from the grandfather or the uncle.
Yeah.
Stories of World War II that nobody ever heard.
Yeah.
Because these guys didn't want to talk about it. I was on a thing called R.I.V.I.N. I know you're familiar with R.I.V.I.N.
I've been on one, yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
20 years ago. And
Wow.
yeah. I was living in Myrtle Beach at the time, so I was working with a fellow, and he said, you got to join this. So I was on it with 85 World War II vets. 50 guys like me, we were volunteers, we were called guardians to help them. And we had to pay $500. And when my kids found out about, they sent me $700. But that was.
Oh, you had a little spending money.
Yeah, but I tell you, the book has a great story about the honor flight program itself.
Yeah.
It's a
We
wonderful.
got a great one here in Rhode Island. You know that, right?
I heard that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And the guy who runs it, the chief, George Farrell, is a man that I served with on the Providence Fire Department.
Oh,
we
yes.
were in the same building. He was on the engine company. I was in the ladder. And he wound up being the chief of the department. And then when he retired, he was the fire marshal for state of Rhode Island for a little while.
Oh, wow.
And now he's in charge of the chief's honor flights.
Oh.
So a couple of years ago, I went on one, and I met several World War II guys, and they were up there. They were 98, 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one guy that I met just had his 101st birthday in January. So we had a big party for him.
Yes.
And he's become a friend, and I go see him
Yes.
now. But I forgot how many flights have come out of Rhode Island already. I think about 30.
Really?
Because he does 2 or 3 a year. And I go, how do you get these done? Because they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he fills them up pretty much.
Yeah.
And now he's getting to Vietnam guys. That's why I went. He still had some World War II fellas on there. But I got on it because, and a bunch of us were Vietnam and a couple of Korean War guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as time goes by, we know all our World War II veterans are passing away. So he's still making it an honorable thing for other veterans.
Yeah, that's good.
Especially combat, any veterans. But
Yes.
so I know about the honor flights. But getting back to your book, so when did you actually start? How do you go about? Because I got a book in my head too that I've had for about 20 years, and it's still there, and it's not on paper. So,
well, what happened was in December 10th, 2023.
Yeah.
My cousin Peter Geyser is an artist in stained glass. And the Bishop of Rhode Island contracted him to make a window for the church at URI. It's the, can't remember the name of it, Christ the King Church. It's right outside of URI.
Right.
And they were building a new church, and Peter made a stained glass window.
Wow.
It is 25 feet wide and 17 feet high. It's up in the back of the choir. And we went to the installation, and the bishop came up for the blessing. And Jack Geyser's daughter, who was a cousin of mine, we sat and talked for 2 hours. I hadn't seen him in years. And she told me about her dad, Jack, and he was a helicopter pilot, a Marine helicopter pilot in Vietnam. He would go into the jungle every day trying to find the guys with the smoke grenades colored properly. And one day he came upon a situation where they had 21 guys surrounded by the Viet Cong. And in his small helicopter, in terms of capacity, he made 3 trips in there to get them all out. He was told not to. He overloaded the helicopter to such an extent that he was buffering the helicopter off the palm trees to get these guys out of there. He got the Distinguished Flying Cross.
Wow.
My Uncle Joe Callahan was in a B-29 in World War II. He also got the Distinguished Flying Cross. About 4 weeks before Hiroshima, he was on Guam, and they were told to go to the northernmost island, which is Hokkaido, to take pictures of 2 factories up there in the town of Sapporo. We had never been up that far. We had to get from Guam to southern Japan. It was 600 miles just to get there. Anyway, they went to this island up north. They took all the equipment out of the plane. Only 4 men went. And he and 3 other guys, the pilot, flight engineer, cameraman, and Joe the navigator, they had to make sure they had enough gasoline to get back. They filled the plane with gasoline cans. They left at 5 p.m. one day, and the next day they came back at 4 p.m. They had flown for 23 hours.
Wow.
And Joe had to find this little island called Guam in the middle of the Pacific on his way home. After being awake for 23 hours, he found it.
It's amazing they stayed awake.
I know. The book has a great story about Joe in it because of other things that he did there. I mean, it was amazing stories. And Jack and he both got the Distinguished Flying Cross. Joe for World War II and Jack for Vietnam. Then I found out that my brother's father-in-law, Tom Bowen, from Portland, Oregon, he dropped out of high school in 1944, 3 weeks before D-Day. He was going to be a junior, he was going to be a senior, and he went to the principal and said, "I want to go fight the war. Would you give me a diploma?" And they agreed. And 4 or 5 weeks later, he was in Texas learning to be a bombardier.
Wow.
We had developed a type of bomb that exploded before it hit the ground because it spread out phosphorus. We had a timer on it. One day it got caught up in the bomb bay doors.
Uh-oh.
Tom went to his friends and said, "You got to hold me upside down." So these guys grabbed Tom by the heels, and he held upside down with the bomb bay door open, going 200 miles an hour, a little bit cold.
Yeah.
He freed it mechanically.
Oh, my God.
He saved the plane. About 30 seconds later, it exploded in the air. So he also...
Probably a little high.
Yeah. But about 30 seconds later, he said, "We're going to get out." Okay, anyway, he got the Distinguished Flying Cross as well. He was 18 years old,
Wow.
and a second lieutenant, because when he went in, they saw his talent, so they put him in the office and made him a second lieutenant. And this all happened within a period of 1 year.
Imagine. You got some
The
great,
stories. The stories.
great stories and good history in your family and friends. Well, these are all related, right? You got
Yes.
5 guys here.
Yes, the 3 of them at the below are
Tom
in-laws.
Bowen.
Yeah, Tom Bowen was my brother's-in-law, my brother's father-in-law. And he was the one who, at 18 years old, got the Distinguished Flying Cross as a second lieutenant.
Imagine.
That doesn't happen every day.
No.
So 3 of those 5 guys got the Distinguished Flying Cross. The fellow down the bottom of the center, he was my father-in-law.
All right, you got Colonel Hal.
Yeah, Hal
Quackenbush?
Quackenbush. He was my father-in-law.
Really?
And he spent 2.5 years in the jungle in Burma, teaching the Chinese nationals how to fight. He worked for Chiang Kai-shek, and he worked, not directly perhaps, but he was responsible for teaching a brigade of Chinese to fight in the jungle.
Imagine.
The stories behind him are incredible because the Brits also went to India and recruited a bunch of Gurkhas. They fight with knives, and all they want to do is kill people and go home.
Yeah.
And they also went to the Ivory Coast in Africa and recruited soldiers to go into the war in the jungle. They recruited guys, and Hal Quackenbush was 6'4".
Really?
They recruited guys bigger than him to come out of the jungles in Africa. And their job was to make sure the colonel was protected. So they walked through the jungle, and they were told that they had the M1 with a bayonet on it. They thought it was a spear. I mean, the stories in the book are funny and they're sad, but I enjoyed so much learning about these people and what they did.
Well, I can't wait for it to come out. You better get me one when,
Yes.
as soon as they hit the trail.
Last story I
I'll
want
buy
to tell
it.
you about the last.
And who was PFC Chuck
Tompkins,
U.S. Army?
That was my brother Matt's father-in-law.
Oh.
He joined the Army twice. They didn't let. He was only 16, so they threw him, come back. He came back 2 weeks later, and he met somebody else, and he got in.
No
He
kidding.
was a kid. He was in North Africa with Patton. He was on Utah Beach
Wow.
on the worst first wave, and then he had some very bad situations up in the Battle of the Bulge in Belgium. So he spent the end of the war in Birmingham, Alabama, recuperating. But he was the most highly decorated soldier from World War II in the whole state of Alabama.
Imagine.
His list, I could talk for hours about each one of those men. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So I heard these stories, and I said, I got to write this down, you know?
Yeah, I'm glad you did. Yeah, and they all came home.
Yes.
A new book by Ed McCormick. So, is this what the front of it's going to look like?
Yes, that's the cover. That's
Let
the
me
cover.
show. Maybe I
Yes,
can show the people.
yes,
This is what the book will look like, I guess.
yes.
You know, it's got the 5
Yes.
gentlemen he's talking about right on the cover.
Yeah,
So they're all somehow related to you, family-wise.
yes.
You get your father-in-law and 3 other father-in-laws.
Two other fathers.
Two other
Yeah,
father-in-laws.
the 3 down the bottom are fathers-in-law, and
Yeah.
my uncle and my cousin are up at the top.
Uncle and a cousin. Imagine. And this gentleman served too. He didn't go to World War II because he was born a little too late for that. But anyway, I see inside of this some pictures of planes, helicopters,
Yep.
some family members, and I see a Purple Heart
Yes.
and the Distinguished Flying Cross.
Chuck,
Who got the Purple Heart?
Chuck Tompkins. He got 2. He's the one on Utah Beach,
Wow.
and also in the Battle of the Bulge. He had a shoulder blade shot off in the Battle of the Bulge. He got 2 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars, 2 Silver Stars. He was the most highly decorated soldier from World War II in the whole state of Alabama.
Imagine that.
And he came home, and all he did was stop at the Veterans Home and go to the American Legion and talk. They brought him in many years ago to talk to these kids who are so despondent coming back from Vietnam and in the Middle East.
Yeah.
The suicides today are 22 a day. 22 a day today.
I know it. I don't understand that, but yeah, it happens.
And that's all he did. He talked to these kids. That's all he did.
What did he do for job-wise?
Oh, he was always going. He started a company. He was a builder.
Yeah.
Contractor. When he came home from the war, he started a contracting business and a wholesale lumber business. And he's just a humble man who could give you anything. And in fact, he came to Myrtle Beach to live with his daughter and my brother. And he and I used to go out and have a few beers because he wanted to get out of the house. So we would go to the VFW and the Legion, and we would go down there. He'd sit at the table, and I'd say, yeah, this guy, look at him. He's got his World War II hat on, and we'll get free beer, you know? So Chuck Tompkins, what a wonderful man he was. And he and I had a lot of fun together. Yeah, he loved people, and he had to be doing things all the time, you know?
Yeah.
And
Did any of these, I got a little confused, did any of these folks come to Rhode Island for any reason?
just Jack and Joe. The other thing, I don't...
Your cousin, because he was from here, right?
Yes, but no, to my knowledge, none of them ever were here. No. No, Tom was from Portland, Oregon. Chuck Quackenbush, excuse me, he was from Montana. He lived on a sheep ranch in Montana. And of course, Chuck lived in Alabama. He never came up, no.
Did you go to where they lived?
Yes, I visited
That's
because
why
I
you
traveled
know
quite a bit.
more.
I was on the West Coast for 4 years with a company, and then I traveled quite a bit. Yes.
Did you?
Yeah. So
You got around to see them at least.
Yes, I did.
Well, that's
I'm probably
good.
the only one who's ever met all 5 of them.
Hey,
Yes.
fantastic.
I remember during World War II, my Uncle Joe was home on leave. This picture is in the book, too, with his uniform. And he has 5 nephews and nieces. And I'm one of them. And my 2 brothers, and my cousin Howie Nolan, and Jack Geiser. So Jack at the top and Joe on the right. They were both being good students and veterans, and Jack got the Distinguished Flying Cross about 30 years after Joe did. Joe got it in Guam, and Jack was in the bad time of Vietnam, bad time. But he survived. And the story about the book name was the fact that we've had 405,000 did not come home from World War II, but 16 million were in uniform.
Imagine.
So what I'm doing, I'm celebrating the guys who came home.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's been
Now,
quite a story.
let me get a distinction here. The person that got the medal 30 years later, that was when he got it, Or was it earned 30 years before?
Oh, 30 years before, yeah.
Sounds like me with my Purple Heart.
Oh, yeah.
Took them 30 years to give me mine.
Oh, no. But Debbie was telling me the search now is so much easier. She wanted to check on her dad, Jack, who was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And the military has so much readily available information on the internet today. In fact, what we're going to do, I've been telling this story for over 2 years. I would talk to a fellow, I met a fellow in some place in Narragansett recently. He had been in Vietnam. And he was a junior, then a senior in high school, and they knew. He had 3 other guys from junior high school and high school. These 4 guys were inseparable. And they sat in the cafeteria before high school graduation, and one guy pulled out a $1 bill and cut it in 4 pieces. He said, make sure you bring that home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. But you got to find, like you found them, you find the good guys, because there's so many out there. So I had to tell about the stories of guys who did come home, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they had a life after the life in the service.
Yeah,
that was one thing.
Yes.
To survive that, and on the way earn medals or save people or see death, and they get through that, and now they get home and they have to start all over again with a new life, doing whatever it is they might do, which might be new.
I didn't mean to interrupt, sorry, but you and I have both been on honor flight. That honor flight I was on in 2010.
Wow.
And I watched 85 guys over 85 years old get on a plane one day. And nobody ever talked about the war.
Yeah.
I had 3 other uncles in the war. I never told you anything about it. These guys didn't see anybody from World War II.
Right.
Until they saw the 84 guys getting on that same plane.
Oh, unbelievable.
We had a big reception at the Middlebridge Airport for them in the morning.
Yeah.
These guys were so excited, they didn't even sit down.
Imagine.
They just wanted to talk to somebody and listen. They had these conversations, animated conversations going up all around us. And I'm standing talking to a reporter, and the reporter said, "Did you see that, Ed?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You don't see that every day." These guys never stopped talking or listening, never even sat down to have a cup of coffee.
Imagine.
All they wanted to do is tell somebody.
Yeah.
In fact, my next book is going to be about finding stories. I'm going to invite the people. We're going to make sure the stories are valid. That's easy to do today. And we're going to probably publish 100 or 150 stories in one book about the guys who never talked about it. Probably that might be the name of the book. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was
I
so
remember
many.
going on the flight, and when we got to Washington, D.C., we were at the Marine Corps memorial,
Yes.
you know, with the flag.
And you will, yeah.
And there was a guy there, and he had his hat on, and you could tell he was a Marine. He was in his wheelchair. And he was in tough shape.
Yeah.
And there were several World War II guys, and I got to talk to all of them. But this guy, I said, "So where were you?" He says, he pointed. He says, "I was on Iwo Jima."
On Iwo, oh, geez, oh.
And he was a young guy too.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yes.
But it was on the flight. He was, 199, 100, whatever he was. But yeah, and he started to tell me the story about the day when he got on there and what went on and what. And I said, "Wow, this is unbelievable," because he seemed so quiet and reserved in the chair. But again, nobody was talking to him much, and I just went over. I wanted to take a picture with him and strike up a conversation, because I know these guys. I don't even know if he's alive today, because that was 2 years ago. But anyway, you're right. They want to talk. They want to tell somebody that knows.
Yeah.
That's why I get guys on this show sometimes that are able to do that.
Yes.
And it's tough because they can't get around much. No. Although I've had a 100-year-old guy come in here who drove here. You drove here, right? Did you drive here? You drove here.
Wow.
So this guy was 100, and he drove from Cranston to get here.
Yeah.
And then I invited him to the 80th anniversary of the Combat Infantry Badge, which was a couple of years ago. And he came to that, and his daughter came up from where she was from, Virginia. And her husband came, and we had 7 or 8 World War II guys there some of them were combat infantrymen, some of them weren't, but they were there to help us celebrate.
Yes.
And it was a fantastic time, and the best guests were them.
Yes.
You know.
When we took my honor flight, was 15 years ago. We took it on the birthday of the Marine Corps. It was November 10th.
Yeah.
So we stopped at a number of places, including World War II. But anyway, we got out of these 3 buses, and there were about 12 or 14 guys from New Zealand there in uniform. They were celebrating because it was the Marines that saved New Zealand during the war. So they show up, and we have 85 guys from World War II. It was like a marriage.
Oh,
these
shit.
old guys were convinced that these were the guys who saved New Zealand, you know? So we had a good time with them.
Yeah. Last year I went to Omaha Beach, and we were there, and I see this, like a platoon of soldiers forming up so that they could march. Well, they were marching from the parking lot to where some of the events took place. And I said, I yelled out, "Hey, get in step," and all this. And
Oh, geez.
nothing, I was just kidding around. When they got close enough, I realized they were Germans.
What were they
The
doing?
German army,
Wow.
who we're friends with.
Yes.
So when I realized it, then I said, "Oh God, those aren't Americans, those are Germans." So anyway, they went their way, and we went ours, and then we got into some of the bunkers
Oh,
that were looking right over the ocean.
yeah.
Now, these were attacked, these bunkers. And then as I'm in there hearing noise, and half a dozen of them came in,
Oh.
and I was filming.
Oh.
So they spoke English, so I spoke to them. I said, "What are you guys doing here?" So we're here on a learning tour. So they even come to see what happened
Wow.
on Omaha Beach and all
Yes.
that, even though they're Germans,
Right.
because they're our friends now. But
Yeah.
I thought that was a little strange, but it worked out good. But I really was surprised.
Yes. Yes.
But then when I think about it, I say it's like if we had a platoon of American soldiers and went there.
Yes.
They were there to learn about it.
Yes.
They went to learn about it, and they're on the losing side.
Yes.
But they still went there.
They
to
still
learn,
went
you
there.
know?
Interesting.
So
Interesting. Wow.
I was looking. All right. It's tough whether the cameraman has to go into the booth and come out to show me how much time we only got a couple of more minutes. So what else would you like to tell us to wrap up
Oh, well,
our wonderful,
I've-
I told you it would go too fast.
yeah, it did.
Did it?
I'm very pleased to be here, obviously, and get an opportunity to talk about the book. And I'm more excited now that I've learned the mechanics of the business and so forth. The second book, because it's going to be stories that nobody else told.
Yeah.
These kids from Vietnam were a good example, tearing a dollar bill into 4 pieces. This was a senior in high school,
Yeah.
knowing these guys didn't have a shot, but they all came home.
Yeah. Great.
That's heavy stuff, you know?
Well, I know we're running out of time, and I'll take a little bit longer to say goodbye, wrap it up. But before I go, I want to give you this nice little memento. Do you like coffee?
Oh, I do.
Good.
Oh my God.
Maybe you can enjoy your coffee in that cup from now on.
This is
Show it
terrific.
to that
Yes,
that camera.
this is great.
Very good.
Yes, I can use one right about now.
All right. So, folks, again, we're coming to the end of our program here, and I want to thank you again.
My pleasure,
Ed.
Bert. My pleasure.
And maybe we'll get together again when the book is actually done, and I can look at it and read it, and we can go over some of those things. So all those folks out there who are watching, and especially our veterans, as usual, I thank you all for tuning in and watching the Rhode Island Veterans Information Network. And as always, Thank you, and we salute you.